Major, I want to ask you, during the campaign, Donald Trump was very critical of government leaders who gave in to company demands in order to keep jobs from leaving the United States. So why are we seeing this reversal in dealing with carriers specifically?
That's an excellent question. And the campaign Trump persona was highly critical of either governors or presidents who he said often give away the store in order to keep jobs in the United States. He said these companies who threaten to leave don't need the money. They don't need either tax incentives, or they don't need government loans or credits or other inducements. They should be either willing to stay in the United States as an act of sort of corporate patriotism, or they should be threatened with higher tariffs or other kinds of penalties if they decide to take their jobs out of the United States to cheaper labor markets. Well, that's not what happened in this situation with Carrier in Indianapolis at all. Exactly the kinds of things that then candidate Trump criticized are exactly what happened. The governor of Indiana, also the vice president-elect, Mike Pence, provided $7 million in tax breaks over 10 years to United Technologies and its subsidiary Carrier, air conditioning and heating. Plus, there was the promise from President-elect Trump, hey, you're going to get much lower corporate tax rates and far fewer regulations. Now, those last two, lower corporate tax rates and fewer federal regulations, are designed for everyone who's competing in the business atmosphere across the entire U.S. economy. That's not a Carrier-specific promise. But the things from Indiana exactly are. And there are those who already are saying, wait a minute, if Carrier can get all this great publicity, which it did out of this deal, and tax breaks, and keep its jobs in the United States, why won't other companies threaten this administration similarly and try to extract similar concessions that are better for their bottom line? All this is going to have to be dealt with on a case-by-case basis, but what has clearly happened is this president-elect has established a precedent where that's possible. How often it will happen will be up to him and his administration, but he has clearly set that expectation, and corporate boardrooms will now look at that expectation and weigh it as they decide what to do with their workforce here in the United States.
Yeah, we'll have to see who raises their hand next, right? Well, Mr. Trump did reveal his pick for defense secretary as well last night. We talked about him a little bit, retired General James Mattis. Tell us a little bit more about him. He's an interesting guy, never been married, very well read, comes with a number of track record that's very, very good in terms of leadership. So tell us about him a little bit, Major.
So one of the things that is interesting as politics and military strategy and military success have become so much more melded over the past 3 or 4 decades in American life is a lot of generals get a reputation as being very cagey and very successful within either the politics of the Pentagon or larger politics and move themselves up that way, in addition to being fine soldiers and administrators. General Mattis is different in that category. He is an exceptional Marine, regarded as among the most impressive leaders of Marine expeditionary forces of his generation, but he doesn't play the political game nearly so much as other generals have of his generation. And so he's held an even higher respect for that he really concentrates on military strategy, leadership, and changing the culture within the Marine Corps to achieve success. He was an expeditionary Marine Force leader in Iraq and Afghanistan, deeply steeped in all of the conversations and strategic calculations of waging counterterrorism campaigns in both of those countries and thinking about fighting terrorism globally. And he is a big student of military history. He's known, and President-elect Trump likes this nickname, Mad Dog Mattis.
Yeah, he's got another nickname, though. Yeah.
Right, than his other nickname, which is Warrior Monk, someone who really takes the warcraft side of leadership and the risks involved of plotting military strategy and then trying to execute it very seriously. So he brings a kind of interesting reverence to this position, and he'll need it, Jamie, because it is very unusual in our country to have a retired general as the head of the Defense Department. Historically, and in only one case has this not been true, it has been reserved for civilians, because we have decided as a country it's better to have at the highest level of the Defense Department a civilian giving orders to the military. Now we're going to have, if in fact General Mattis is confirmed, a retired Marine Corps general doing that job.
And that's very quickly, Major, along those lines. He would need a waiver from Congress to become Secretary of Defense.
That is correct. I mentioned there's been one retired general who served as defense secretary. That was George C. Marshall. Not since has it happened, and that was a very, very long time ago.
Right.
To obtain permission, the Trump administration would have to ask Congress, and he would have to approve a waiver of an existing federal law that says if you're a retired general, you cannot serve as defense secretary within 7 years of your retirement. General Mattis retired from the Marine Corps in 2013, so Congress would need to approve this. One of the reasons it's taken a bit longer than the transition team would have preferred to announce General Mattis that it wanted assurances from Congress that, in fact, that waiver could be obtained. Those assurances have been given. That's why President-elect Trump made the news he made here last night in Cincinnati.
Outside the box again. Major Garrett, thank you so much.
Sure.